Buzz Pound, welcome back to episode 23. 23 of them boys in. We are
Yep.
rowing weekly. Feels good. So this week we're going to be going over a few things. There's a few things that came out with the Panthers this week, and then we'll go over these sorry Buzz boys of ours. They are really, truly disappointing this year. But we'll start with some more positive news. Ian, you ready to get into it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Touchdown, Carolina! You're listening to the Buzz Pound.
Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
A Queen City sports podcast covering your Charlotte Hornets and Carolina Panthers.
Halliburton, nowhere to go! LaMelo's done it! LaMelo's done it! Hornets win! Here comes LaMelo.
Here are your hosts, Ian Blair and Cam Gardner.
Buzz Pound, thank you for joining us for episode 23. Ian, how's it feel, man?
Crazy. We're staying consistent and 23 episodes in now at this point, and we're only going to continue to grow and continue to put out content. So we appreciate every single one of you that continues to listen to us.
For sure. And as long as you all continue to listen to us and tune in weekly, we will continue to put out content for you guys and keep engaging with us. It's very important to us. We want to keep, bringing new things to the pod. So any recommendations, any, thoughts of you all's, please, by all means, bring them to us.
Yeah, for sure. And if you're listening right now, like this podcast on YouTube and Spotify.
Yeah, and Spotify.
Yeah.
Can't forget Spotify. And also pay attention to socials because every now and then we may drop something that we'll start including in the pod. So,
Yep, for sure.
all right. Well, Ian, I guess we'll go ahead and start with the elephant in the room. Shaq Thompson is going into free agency. The Panthers announced that they are officially parting ways. What you think?
Yeah, so the second longest tenured Panther is officially going to be a free agent behind JJ Jansen, which we kind of mentioned last week, getting re-signed for, I feels like he's been around forever, JJ Jansen. But yeah, not re-signing Shaq Thompson's, it's crazy to me. I mean, he's been around for a long time. He was on the team when we went to the Super Bowl, and he was young, obviously, at that time, but kind of sitting behind Luke and Thomas Davis and playing primarily on special teams. But yeah, man, I mean, we're gonna have a ton of pieces to kind of we have a ton of missing pieces on defense that we really gotta, talk about. And this offseason is gonna be really interesting because we gave up the most points in the NFL history last year, which is crazy stat. I mean, of course the Panthers would be the one to do it, but we got a bunch of missing pieces on this defense, man, and we'd really gotta it's gonna be interesting this offseason to see what we do, but we definitely need to start reloading this defense.
Like I told you when we were texting about it yesterday, I mean, this really emphasizes, I mean, we knew that defense needed to be improved upon, but it's a no-brainer now. I mean, we let one of our two main veterans go.
Hmm.
And now with that, they're either going to have to start looking in the draft. I mean, I'm expecting them to draft some defensive pieces, but they're even going to have to look into free agency too. I mean, there's a lot, and we were already lacking a lot, but this truly is bringing our defense down. I'm sure within the front office, they know what they're doing. I'm trying to believe in that. Still trying to give Dan Morgan benefit of the doubt because he's still in his, very early stages of being the GM. But, you know, um, it's sad to see Shaq Thompson go. I mean, like we said, you said, he's been there since the Super Bowl. He's the second longest tenure behind JJ Jansen. I'm glad we at least kept one of them, even though JJ is just the snapper, right?
Yeah, long snapper.
Yeah, the long snapper. So, I mean, you hate to see him go. Hopefully he has and I kind of called it earlier in the on one of these podcast episodes. I just had that feeling after the injury, and he's not even super old, but he's getting up there in football years. So
Mhm.
guess it's time to start looking for that new piece, and it's more pieces that are needed, like you said.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, second year of Trevin Wallace at linebacker had showed flashes this past year. At linebacker, he's young, a young guy, obviously going into his second year this upcoming. this upcoming season. I think he has a lot of promise. He was fairly early draft pick, and then it's going to be interesting to see what we do at 8. I think there's going to be some pieces on defense at that 8 spot that we can kind of invest in, whether it's, right now I'm hearing a lot of smoke about Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. I think he's a good prospect. I watched a little bit of tape on him. Definitely, he plays really hard. Reminds me a little bit of Frankie Louvu, actually, with his blitzes, can come off the edge, can rush from inside linebacker, just that kind of Tasmanian devil type, if you will, just plays all over the place and really, really quick to the ball. But it's going to be interesting to see what we do at 8. I think we're definitely going to have to lean on defense and hopefully, find a prospect that will, provide and contribute to this team.
100%. I mean, like we both said and alluded to, it's a heavy focus right now. There's a lot to be done. But on the bright news, there were a few updates that's been coming out within the past day and a half or so. ESPN Panther reporter David Newton announced that Pro Bowl DL Derek Brown is looking good in his rehab and he's excited to get back in 2025. So that's somewhat of defensive news, I would say. Now he is our defensive veteran. Shaq Thompson's gone. It's, Derek Brown's time to shine now and to lead the defense. Whatever they do, he's going to have to be that, that role. And with that extinction last season, I mean, it was obvious he was looked at as a long-term veteran for us. So it's his time to shine. Hopefully he comes back, has a strong recovery. Hopefully he doesn't have any setbacks between now and then because there's still a lot of off season left and you got, summer camps and all that and OTAs. So hopefully all that works out for him. Defense is going to be the key, the main concern as well. Like you said, we allowed the most amount of touchdowns in a season in NFL history. That speaks a lot. And then the fact that they brought back the same staff. I mean, I wasn't the biggest fan of that. Still not. I just don't know how much changes there will be there. And since, under his leadership, we allowed that to happen.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good to hear that Derek Brown's, progressing in his recovery. He's obviously our leader on defense. Gosh, he's only 26, 27 years old, and he's the veteran on our defense. And when Derek Brown's healthy, he's shown that he is a really good player. I mean, had over 100 tackles a couple of years ago at a defensive tackle position, really good at stopping the run, which we didn't have any of last year without him. We really, really missed him on that front four, and we really just need him back healthy. Shy Tuttle really struggled this past year in run defense. And Derek Brown, that's one of his strong points is run defense. So I think having him back next year will be huge. Hopefully everybody can stay healthy and we can extend JC Horn and kind of, put this defense together throughout the offseason because we definitely have a ton of work to do and we have some draft capital and we have some money to spend in free agency. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do. I think the majority of our moves are going to be on defense. I wouldn't be surprised if we pick up another weapon for Bryce Young, whether it be the draft or in free agency of some type. There's rumors out there about T. Higgins. There was rumors earlier this offseason about, Garrett Wilson being unhappy in New York. It's going to be interesting to see. And I think this offseason is going to be very interesting league wide. I think there's going to be a lot of moves and we'll just wait and see and kind of hoping that our defense can get solidified.
Yeah, no doubt. There's definitely going to be a lot of splashes, not just for our team, but like you said, league wide. It's just where it's at. You got people who aren't happy, looking to get out of their current situations, or free agents at that. So we just have to see. Hopefully, we can get some positive benefits out of it.
Yeah.
So, but that actually is not where it ends with David Newton. The next report that came out from him was that the Panthers are actually discussing an extension for cornerback JC Horn, which I think is beyond deserving. This past season he had one of his most healthier seasons in a long time. usually injuries is his issue. But when we're talking about cornerbacks, I don't think he's talked about enough. He is one of those lockdown cornerbacks when healthy. He is a great cornerback, and he's expressed that he wants to stick part of the Panthers process to greatness. And I appreciate him for that because most people with his talent look to go elsewhere where they can have a better winning opportunity. But I think he's one of those ones that can see that there is potential light at the end of the tunnel as long as, moves are done right under
Mhm.
Dan Morgan and Dave Canales. And, he's had one of his best career years this past season. So I'm happy to hear that. I hope he does get it because, like I said, to me, he's beyond deserving of it. And he's getting to that veteran status too. I mean, he's going to be one of those leaders on this team now.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's nice. I mean, he definitely needs an extension, and we have the money to give him one. Definitely don't want to overpay, but as you mentioned, he is a great corner when he's healthy. He missed a couple games this past year, but previous to that, he hasn't been healthy at all. Made a Pro Bowl last year, which was nice to see, and had some problems. A little too physical sometimes can create some penalties. I know against DeAndre Hopkins, he had some penalties against the Chiefs, just kind of being too handsy, but definitely a physical corner and really could be that number one lockdown guy that can match up with the opposing team's number one receiver. And yeah, definitely need to bring him back on an extension. If we lose JC Horn, it just sets us back farther than we were, and definitely need to work something out with him because he is a vital part of this defense and has proven when he's healthy to be a really good player.
No doubt. I mean, I love him. He's one of the few current players I definitely want his jersey. I don't get current player jerseys too often just because of how common it is that players get traded and move around too much. And in
Yeah.
the end, it's almost like you waste your money. So um, now moving to the offensive side of things. Again, from David Newton. Kind of unfortunate news. There, as of now, is no return timetable for Panthers running back Jonathan Brooks. He went down with the ACL injury and had surgery on the same knee he injured in college, which was an unfortunate situation. So, we hope for a speedy recovery. Definitely a young, important piece I think we're missing, and it sounds like we're going to miss for more time. Hopefully, him as well. Hopefully, he has a strong comeback and no more setbacks because that's just super unfortunate. And, to have it happen on the same knee twice, I mean, you wonder how he's going to recover from that one.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. It's tough. I've been a big fan of Jonathan Brooks. I was a big fan when we drafted him. I was excited. Obviously the first running back off the board last year in the draft out of Texas. I thought he had a ton of talent, and I knew he was coming off of a torn ACL. And it's so unfortunate they tore his ACL. I mean, only a couple weeks back after working so hard and coming back, and showed flashes. He was a little twitchy. I mean, obviously didn't run for a crazy amount of rushing yards or anything like that. But if you watch the Panthers game and kind of notice it, when you saw him in the backfield, you're like, oh, this guy's twitchy. He could. There's potential there. It's just like one broken tackle, one missed tackle away from breaking a big play, and it was so unfortunate against the Eagles to see him re-tear his ACL, and I wouldn't expect him to be back in 2025, unfortunately. It's looking like he's going to be out this entire next football season. I wouldn't be surprised if he was. Um, he's still young, which is a good thing. Thomas Davis tore his ACL multiple times and played until he was in his mid 30s. And obviously, running back is a different position, but because you're getting hit all the time. But um, I'm hoping that he can recover, and I'm hoping he sticks around on this team because he's going to get this next year. He's going to get washed. Nobody's really going to be talking about him. He's going to kind of get buried on the depth chart, and I think he is extremely talented. If you watch some of his film at Texas, if you watch some of his runs for us when he came back, like I mentioned, he didn't, break crazy runs or anything like that. But when he did get the ball, you were like, oh, this guy's twitchy. He can definitely make some moves, and um, it's just so unfortunate. And I'm hoping, for a speedy recovery for him, and I'm hoping he can contribute to this team, whether it's late 2025 or 2026. But he's young, and we spent a second round pick on him, and I'm hopeful that we can reap some of the benefits of his talent one day.
I agree. We just continue to hope. Excuse me. We just continue to hope that he recovers, and like you said, he's shown flashes where there's talent there.
Mhm.
And just so early in his career, hopefully this doesn't benefit him for the long run from not having a good career because he's so deserving and showed flashes, like you said. I mean, I just hope the best for him. He could be special for us, having him and Chuba. I like it, but
Mhm.
we just really gonna have to, fill in that gap until he returns. So even if we don't have him in this entire season, which at this point I wouldn't be surprised, like you said, if that happens.
Mhm.
So on to one more from David Newton here. And this one actually came from General Manager Dan Morgan on wide receiver Xavier Legette. Xavier Legette had a procedure on his foot during the offseason, but nothing on the wrist that bothered him during his rookie year last year. Um, so hopefully he's able to, come back from that foot injury of his. But that wrist injury, I mean, I wasn't actually aware of that one too much personally. Hopefully that's something that's not serious. Hopefully it's something that they're able to treat and get right because he's definitely going to need his hands for the season. And, Xavier Legette, to me, that was a lot of an issue for him or a big issue for him last year. Catching ability. There's so many catches he didn't catch or hold on to. And I'm just like, you got to catch those. I mean, I think it was the game against the Eagles. He
Mhm.
could have had a wide open touchdown. And
Yep.
somehow it just butterfingers went right through. So I don't know if that came from that wrist injury or not, but hopefully they're able to get that one squared away as well without surgery. Hopefully it's not that serious. But speaking of Xavier Legette, for those who may be paying attention, you may notice I have a 17 jersey on. No, it's not Xavier. There's a true 17 long before Xavier Legette was even thought of as a Panther, and that is our former quarterback, Jake Delhomme. So no, Xavier Legette is not who I think of when we think of 17. So argue with me if you want, but he's got a lot of shoes to fill before owning that number 17.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think Jake Delhomme, and if he played for any other organization, would not be a legend. It's just because of the Panthers. But no hate to Jake Delhomme. I love Jake Delhomme. Some of my earliest Panthers memories are with Jake Delhomme towards the end of his career. But yeah, as you mentioned, Xavier Legette definitely needs to work on his hands. I think he has potential. He's young, he's physical, and I think it's there. I think the talent's there. Spent a first round pick on him. We traded up to get him. Um, and I think if he improves over the offseason, gets better and improves from his rookie year where, he showed flashes, but also showed growing pains with some of the drop problems. And the good thing about drop problems is those are extremely fixable. Drop problems are one of those things that it's an easy fix. I wouldn't say easy fix because you have to put in the work. You have to get on the jugs and you have to catch a ton of footballs, and you have to do that consistently over an off season. But it's definitely fixable. Deontay Johnson, speaking of former Panther, Deontay Johnson had some drop issues early in his career with the Steelers and really got on the jugs and really worked hard at just catching footballs. And I'm not worried long term about Xavier Legette's hands problems that he had his rookie year. I think it's a very fixable thing, but it's a wait and see game. And obviously he's coming off of a foot surgery and coming off of a wrist injury. So hoping that he can recover and be back for, training camp in this summer and, you know, early on in the year and kind of make that leap that we expect him to make in year two and not have a sophomore slump as some players do.
Yeah, I mean, he's one player that I could say who has a lot of potential to be standout receiver in this league. A few things to fix. I mean, it's growing pains. He was just a rookie, but he showed some flashes that I'm proud of. I'm happy that we got him. I feel like he could be one of those key pieces. He's young, but something that could help Bryce Young grow, and hopefully Bryce can help him grow as a receiver as well. So I
Mhm.
like it. He went to USC, not Southern Cal, South Carolina, my USC, but he definitely has a lot of potential. I like him. Everything about him, all the way from him to the horse Dollar. I mean, everything about him. He's just such a class act, and hopefully he's able to get everything he can with us and be a part of the, whatever greatness we have to come as a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, I guess it's about that time to go to this basketball team. I don't even want to acknowledge them by any
We're
nicknames or
going to keep it
anything.
short on this buzz pat or this. I don't even know what you call them now.
I don't even want,
They're not
I'm,
playing NBA basketball. I mean,
no.
G League maybe not. I'm thinking like overseas, but they're not playing NBA basketball right now. So
I mean, especially if you're losing the two non-playoff teams like the Trailblazers and the Kings. I mean, to the Trailblazers, they lost 141 to 88. The Kings, they lost 130 to 88. This is beyond a tank at this point. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, even if they were tanking, they cannot be losing like this, especially when you got your best players out there playing. I mean, I think if I'm not mistaken, halftime against the Blazers, it was already like 40 to 73. They were down big time. I mean, this is pitiful. And the Trailblazers are nothing special at all. I mean,
nope.
we made them look like a good team. I mean, at least the Kings, they got Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan and the rest of those young guns over there. But I mean, that I can't knock what they got over there or why they did that to us, but there's no reason. But then, like we always talk about it, I don't know if it's low management or what, but LaMelo Ball, Mark Williams, those guys, sit games out, then they play, they sit out two, they come back, play two. I don't get it. But like tonight, I think LaMelo Ball is out, and they say he's got a foot or ankle soreness going on, and Mark Williams, he's playing. But I don't know what it is, man. And even like our good players, I mean, the only person I'm not going to knock at all is Miles Bridges. He shows up and does what
Yeah.
he's supposed to do, and I'm proud of him. I mean, he's showing that that extension was worth it, and I hope we keep him around personally because when he's having a good night, he's having a good night. He'll contribute. He's not a superstar, but he's one of your better role players in the league, better than most. He can do it all. I mean, if someone like LaMelo Ball sets him up right, he can give you a good three-pointer, or he can take it to the rim. He's got a solid mid-range game. I'm not going to include him because he shows up every night. He doesn't take games off unless he's injured. But
Yeah.
it's a bummer, man. I'm disappointed. This team is way more talented, and it makes you think like that 2021, 22 season. We definitely did not appreciate that enough when we went to the play-ins because we thought I I knew we weren't going to win nothing those years, but
Yeah.
it just made you feel good to at least
Yeah.
possibly be in the mix or
Yep.
better than mediocre. But
Yep.
I hate it. I don't know. I feel like there's going to be some moves this summer. I don't know what they're going to be at this point, but the way this team is going, it is a awful look and awful representation of, the city of Charlotte. But, most people know this team to be trash anyway.
Yeah.
So,
It's so rough, man. And I we play as of recording this podcast, we're playing the Warriors tonight, and I don't expect much, but it's just disappointing, man. It's so frustrating. This team doesn't have there's no culture on this team. This team doesn't have an identity. I think I have high hopes for Charles Lee, but right now with how this team's playing, I don't know what needs to happen in the locker room. I think he needs to put his foot down and, Usually in the professional leagues, these guys are professionals, but this team's not playing like that right now. And, in most NFL locker rooms, these guys know they're professionals. You don't have to yell at them, stuff like that. But this team needs excuse my language, they need a good ass chewing, honestly. And it's so frustrating because this team is talented. This team has talent. LaMelo Ball is talented. And yes, his ankle might be sore, but the whole load management thing, if you could play, you need to play Miles Bridges. I'm sure Miles Bridges is not feeling 100% every night. I'm sure Miles Bridges has soreness in his back or arms or legs, but he continues to play, and he doesn't take games off. And that's what we need. I think that it's kind of a reoccurring thing in the NBA, honestly, with Joel Embiid not playing at all and, these players taking games off just because their ankle sore, or, back in the day, and I wasn't alive during these times, but, Michael Jordan, these guys played every night and played, a lot of minutes in those games and never took games off. And it's just frustrating, man. This team's talented, and it was upsetting to have to deal with the Brandon Miller injury, season ending, and we are missing season ending. We have had some season ending injuries. Grant Williams was another big one, good role player, and also has some fire to him and has a little bit of culture, and we'll kind of get on these young guys, but. Yeah, I guess the tank's on, man, and it's another year, and I'm tired of this. I'm tired of tanking. You mentioned the play-in, 2021, and in my mind, I was like, oh, okay, it's only up from here. We're gonna go forward. We made the play-in this year. Maybe next year we're gonna fight for a playoff spot, and we've just consistently gone backwards. And we were right there. You know what I mean? Like a couple moves away, a really good off season to and then everything just went down. Yes, LaMelo has dealt with some injuries, dealt with some serious ankle problems, but it's just frustrating, man. This team has talent, and I feel like we had such high hopes going in this year with this team that's why it's so frustrating because we had high expectations and, maybe a play in, and this team is so bad, man. I can't watch them really right now. It's too frustrating for me because I'm such a fan and I love this team. I love Charlotte. I love the Hornets. I love the Panthers, but right now, man, I can't do it because when you lose how we've been losing, I mean 141 to 88.
That's back-to-back 40-point losses, by the way. Both of
Yeah.
those games, the Blazers and the Kings. Keep that in mind.
Yes. I mean, that's like what do you even say? You know what I mean? Like hopefully tonight against the Warriors we don't lose by 40. That'd be nice. I could take a close loss. This team's already not competing for anything besides the number one overall pick or a high lottery pick at this point. That's the only thing we're competing for. But it'd be nice to win a couple more games. And I'm tired of losing, man. I'm tired of this. And say we get the first pick or top three pick and we get like Cooper Flag or Ace Bailey or these guys, those two kids out of Rutgers, VJ Edgecombe. We talk about the same things every year as top five pick, and then we look at prospects but excuse me, it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. I mean, where are you at with this team?
I'm like you. I'm about to yawn talking about these guys. It's
Yeah.
it's it's so tragic, but it's tiring just trying to, put on for these boys yearly and daily. But my thoughts overall is it's beyond a tank. I mean, even tanking teams don't perform this bad. I don't know what's going on. Like we always say, this team is way more talented than what they're resulting to in these games. Outside of the wins, is obviously more losses than wins this season. We only at like 14 wins total. That's awful. And you would think we're the worst in the league, but we aren't. I think the Wizards are still below us, which is crazy. But I mean, not that they're anything or ever been anything spectacular. Outside of, those John Wall years and Bradley Beal. But I don't know, man. It's makes you wonder like what is really going on. There's no DNA, there's no
No,
culture.
nope.
It's nothing at all. every team should have some sort of DNA and culture, even if it's as mediocre as it gets. I mean, there's got to be something there. Like these guys, it just seems like they don't gel. They don't click. I don't know what it is, but hopefully this offseason they're able to do something. And, Hornet fans say this every year. This is our offseason or this is the time to fix. But the one time, let's just say if we were to get the first pick, either they don't choose Cooper Flag if he's in the draft, or he ends up going back to Duke for another year. It would just be one of those type of situations. It just seems like that's the luck we have, or I don't know. Kind of like when we got Michael Kidd Gilchrist. I mean, there were so many other stars up there. You had Damian Lillard. You had, I think, Kawhi Leonard was up there. Maybe there were so many other future stars on on the timer, but that's who they went with. So, we remember how that went. The guy who shot like this, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. But anyway, I mean, we've hit rock bottom. We've been there, but I think this is like under rock bottom at this point.
Yeah, yeah, it's rough. I mean, if you were to put blinders on and in a vacuum, you watched one game and it was against the Trailblazers, Hornets versus Trailblazers, and you watched that game, you would have said, this Hornets team hasn't won a game all year because that's how bad we played. And you would be like, there's no way they're not the worst team in the NBA. But yet, record wise, we're still not the worst team in the NBA because the Wizards are below us. I think there's a couple other teams. Can't name them off the top of my head, but yeah, it's I still have faith in the coaching staff. Kemba's on this staff. I still have faith in Charles Lee, but at some point you have to put your foot down. These guys are young. They're kids, pretty much early 20s. Don't know how to win. There's no winning in this team. There's no winning culture. This culture is, if you were to describe this culture, it's just losing. It's a losing culture. And that's all we've done the past couple years since 2021. And something's got to give. Something's got to change. There has to be some kind of change. And whether it's, I just, as much as Jimmy Butler is polarized in this league, Jimmy Butler would be the perfect player for this team because he would not tolerate it at all. He would cause so many, whether you like him or don't like him, he would be fighting people in practice probably. He'd be getting on everybody, making sure they're practicing hard. And that's a winner's mentality. It's there's certain ways to do it, but Michael Jordan was the same way. He elevated the play of everybody around him. And some people hated Michael Jordan just because he was such a fierce competitor. But sometimes you need guys like that in your locker room. And right now, this team doesn't have any winning culture, and they're just okay with losing by 40 every night. And that's not going to cut it in the NBA. And it's really frustrating to see because I love this team and I love Charlotte. And it just sucks right now being a fan of the Hornets. And I'm disappointed in the team.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I'm in the same struggle as you are.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we could somehow pull out a W against the Warriors tonight or not lose by a ton of points. It's going to be interesting to see. Mark Williams is playing tonight on Tuesday, and hopefully we can pull out a win or at least look competitive. And hopefully the future is brighter than it is right now because it can't get much worse than this as a Hornets fan.
Yeah, that's that. All we can do is hope at this point. Hope everybody who's injured comes back strong. I know the Trey Man situation, that'll be interesting this summer because I think he's also a free agent and,
Yep.
he's injured. So I don't know what's going to go on there. When he was healthy, he was looking like he was about to have a career year.
Yep.
So I'm hoping he's not one that they just let slip away like that. He was a great six man. Like I said last episode, six mans are important, and it was getting done with him. Grant Williams, great role player. He can get it done. He can shoot. He can get it to the rim. I mean, we saw what he did on that Celtics team, although they didn't win that year. He's very beneficial of a player.
Yeah,
So
for sure. We just need it's like a broken record. We need everybody healthy, and we need to, get maybe a veteran in the off season, somebody that would maybe want to come to Charlotte. We'll probably have to overpay for a veteran to get them to Charlotte. That's kind of how it is for both the Panthers and the Hornets right now, because not a lot of players want to play in Charlotte. I don't know why. Great city, love Charlotte. I always hold a special place in my heart. But yeah, it's hopefully it's only up from here.
And when you say a veteran, I don't mean a almost retired Tony Parker type veteran either.
Yeah, that's true. Someone, 28, 29 that has won before, that has experienced a championship, or, doesn't tolerate losing.
No doubt. No doubt.
Well, as always, Buzz Pound, we appreciate y'all joining us for episode 23. As always, you can follow us on both X and Instagram at BuzzPoundPod, and you can listen to our podcast on both Spotify and YouTube at BuzzPound Podcast.
And with that being said, we are the Buzz Pound. Keep pounding and keep the high mentality. Go Panthers, go Hornets.
Go Panthers, go Hornets.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Buzz Pound. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Until next time, this is the Buzz Pound.
Touchdown.